Well, hello, welcome once again to Buffalo Wild Wings for the Gary Goff Show, talking Tiffany University football here on a Thursday night. I'm Russ Snyder, alongside head coach Gary Goff. How are we doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing really well, especially a great Thursday after a big Dragon victory. The Dragons go on the road and win a conference game that is never easy to do, no matter what conference you're playing, to go on the road and get a big W, but that's what the Dragons did. We'll talk all about that game. We'll run through some of the highlights of last week. Only 2 weeks left, meaning 3 more shows. So counting, tonight, and then through the Thursday after the regular season, we will have our final season wrap-up Gary Goff Show. But, yeah, plenty to talk about tonight. We also have a game coming up this week on the road one more time against Lake Erie College. We'll preview that game as well. And you're also going to bring a young linebacker on the program who set himself up to have himself a real nice career as a Tiffany University Dragon player.
He started off his career great, being a redshirt freshman. He leads our team in tackles and towards the front of the conference. So almost everybody we play has talked about him after the game. Coach, you got a great player right there in Jacob Murtis. So we'll have him on a little bit later, but we're excited to have him.
Yeah, absolutely. He's one of those guys that knows for the football kind of guy, and he lost a senior linebacker center here to our right last week from injury, Morgan Lloyd, and always sad to see him get beat up. Just a great kid, but it's nice you got that mix of young and old. You got that young talent along with those veteran players on your defensive side of the ball and on the offensive side of the ball. But the defensive side of the ball played really, really well last week, and I thought one of the keys to the game this past week, Coach, up at Northwood was I thought that you guys handled the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball.
Oh, absolutely. We were concerned about them going to that game. Northwood has got one of the better defenses in the conference. Their offense is extremely complicated. Running the triple option there, but and then it rained and snowed up there earlier in the week, so we had no idea what their field conditions were going to be like.
Right.
But we practice on grass fields a lot ourselves, so. I was very excited about how our guys handled themselves in the game. And right from the very beginning, you're right, both sides of the line of scrimmage, we handled that very well.
Yeah, they do. The one linebacker, I can't remember, his name's escaped me off the top of my head, the young man that Jaquan Hardy met there on the block on the opening drive of the game. That will be our first highlight we'll get to here in a moment. That man, I think, is like 4th of the all-time tackles in the country right now in Division II football. And he's a really good football player, but I think Hardy kind of really set the tone early with that big collision right there in the 30-yard line.
We've mentioned those 2 running backs, all season long. Yeah. Both those young pups are very good players, without a doubt. But you saw how physical they can be right there as Jaquan met that linebacker. And that young man's a good player now. That linebacker, you're right, leads the conference in tackles and top of the country. And, he's a redshirt senior, and he's about 6'3", 245. And I guess Jaquan introduced himself.
Well, he came over. I think his chin strap, I think we saw, was in 4 separate pieces. His the clamps on the side holding the face mask were cracked, and earpiece was busted out in his helmet as well. But you had to be really proud of the way your team ran the football on Saturday. 383 yards and 4 touchdowns on the ground for the Dragon rushing attack.
Yeah, we almost had 4 individuals rush for over 100 yards.
Yeah, absolutely. That would have been a Dragon first.
Right. I've never seen that in the air raid offense. It's a pleasant welcome, that's for sure. But we have been very effective running the football this year, and that's got a large part to do with why we were able to have our first ever winning season. So as long as we can effectively run the ball and keep people off balance with our spread, offensive pass attack, then we got a chance to win a lot of football games. But running the ball just helped our defense right there. They had their hands full all day with that offense, but did a phenomenal job handling them. And they had to be assignment sound. In every position. All it takes is one position to make a mistake, and they're out the gate for a 75-yard touchdown run. So, like all of them, it was a very good team victory for us. And, first time we've ever won against Northwood. So.
Right, yeah, we were 0-9, if I remember correctly, going into that game. And the Dragons go up there and get a big victory up at Northwood. So let's go ahead and run through our highlights here. Now, there's 2 of them that I do not have video for, so bear with me, folks. I'm going to try to work my way through this. But we're going to get started here with Jaquan Hardy's block. Jaquan Hardy in the game for the first time today. Lined up behind Antonio. Pipkins, a quarterback draw.
Oh my goodness.
Hardy just took somebody's helmet off.
That was that stud linebacker.
As Pipkin took the ball to the 17-yard line.
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. I think he broke his helmet.
Mr. Kibler liked that play a little bit there, Coach. Could you tell? I think he broke his helmet. Took me to longest yard with I think I broke his neck. So yeah.
No, we don't want that.
Yeah, big play there, though, as we said. Just enforcing the physicality against the other team right there.
Yeah, absolutely. A little ISO play for us right there, and he did a great job stepping up and blocking. And Coach Gilbert had those running backs fired up all week because they knew they had a tough task right there because that linebacker is a very good player, and we were going to have to run around him some and also lead block just like that. And
it's amazing when a running back scores a touchdown, makes a big play, gets a first down. Everybody's teammates there congratulating him. Sometimes though, the biggest congratulatory thanks they get from their teammates is when you go out and do a thing like that, blocking for another teammate and kind of being an unselfish football player.
Oh, absolutely, being selfless right there. That's what it's all about.
All right, here up next we have Antonio Pipkin touchdown pass to Charles Holland. This follows a 7-play, 59-yard drive, and the touchdown pass covers 17 yards. Pass on the outside. Here's Charles. Splits the defenders. Get in there. Charles Holland. Dragons score from 17 yards out. So it's important to get up on the scoreboard early there. So you go down right away and get yourself up 7-0 to take an early lead over the Timberwolves.
Yeah, no, a great play right there. Pipkin made the right read on that play and made a great block right there by Trent Stom and kind of an easy score right there by Charles.
Yeah, just athletes being athletes. All right, up next, a defense doing the job. Stephon Willis finds himself. Garbarino wants to throw down the near side.
Picked off.
And into the end zone goes Stephon Willis, his second interception of the drive. That was my favorite call I've ever made, the second interception of the drive. So you get to say that very often as he picked one off earlier that came back from a penalty, though. But explain to me the ruling there, Coach, as he catches the ball on about the 2-yard line. His momentum of making a play takes him into the end zone.
Right, and it's where we take over possession. And so he took over possession right there with the interception at the 3-yard line. Momentum carried him into the end zone, so they're going to bring the ball back out to the 3. It's not like I think in the NFL, if the momentum carries him into the end zone, they bring it back out to the 25. So, we got that interception right there, which was key, keeping them from scoring, putting points on the board. We'll take it on the 3-yard line. It's fine. Just get the defense off the field.
Yeah, keeping them out of the end zone and giving you the ball. I don't really care where it is. Just give us the ball. And that's, like you said, Coach, that was huge. You have a 7-0 lead, and they're right there knocking on the door, getting ready to tie it up. That might change the whole complexion of the game. Your defense kept them out of the end zone, got the football back, and then Jaquan Hardy has a 19-yard touchdown run off an 11-play, 97-yard drive to put the Dragons up 14-zip. Hand off up the middle, Jaquan Hardy from 19 yards out. Huge hole for the offensive line. He takes it right up the gut. So Jaquan Hardy with the touchdown run there for the Dragons, get up 2 scores.
Well, the key in that word right there that you talked about was the offensive line. Mm-hmm. Offensive line did a great job all day long. They set the tone early. They're very physical, and it's probably the best game our offensive line's played all season. So very proud of them.
So they graded out after the game. You grade out all the players and everything, and this was overall from start to finish the best 60 minutes they put together this year?
Absolutely, all 5 of them did a really, really good job, and they had a chip on their shoulder going into that game, and that was a good thing.
Well, I think Ridge had a bit of a chip on his shoulder during that game as well. But, yeah, the Dragons take a 14-0 lead. You got to credit the offensive line. If you can get a 19-yard touchdown run, do not get touched on your way to the end zone. Then the Dragons, a huge play right before the half. This was a lot of fun to see this freshman wide receiver making this play. One play, 75-yard drive to take a 3-score lead. 2 receivers each side. Pipkin looking left. Pump fake.
Oh, he's got him wide open.
Sideline. Devon Johnson,
come on,
the 50, 45, 40,
come on.
30, come on. 20 down the sideline. 10. Can he get there? Touchdown. 75 yards in 10 seconds. Dragons big score right before the half.
Yeah, no, I think it's under 2 minutes on the clock right there. But, Coach Neugebauer noticed on film all week that corner is very aggressive on 3-step. Pipkin actually checked to that play because he saw that defender to the field right there, and he called it. And before he called, I'm sitting on the headsets asking Coach Neugebauer, what's going on here? What is he doing? What is he doing?
Right.
And, throws a 75-yard touchdown pass, and that's a great call.
That's a huge play. I mean, that's a spirit breaker, against another team to give up those points right before the half. I mean, we've seen it happen to us before in the past, but it's nice to be able to do that to another team and have you guys feeling good going locker room up 21-0, but I'm sure you told the kids there's plenty still to work on at the second half.
Oh, absolutely. A 21-point lead is not safe in this conference, that's for sure. So, and we still had a lot to prove. Again, we were still playing for our first ever winning season, so we went in at halftime, made a few adjustments on both sides of the ball, but overall we were very pleased at how the offense and defense had played up to that point, and really just going in and anticipating some of the changes that Northwood might be making there in the second half.
Well, in the second half, the Dragons again cracked the scoreboard first to increase their lead to 28-0. It's Kyle Brunson. We don't have video for this one, but here's a radio call after the 5-play, 81-yard drive. Handoff, Brunson up the middle, 10-5 into the end zone. That drive, Kyle Brunson as he goes 10 yards out for the Dragons score, and the Dragon lead up to 4 touchdowns now at 27-0.
Kyle Brunson, 10 carries now, 110 yards.
Heck yeah.
On that drive alone, he carried the ball the entire way.
Huge game there for Kyle Brunson. And what a drive for that young man. Like I said, like 70 yards out of that drive, all from him.
Yeah, that was his drive right there. I think he ran I think he broke one for about 32 yards right there on that drive. And, there's some questions. Coach on the head says, well, does he need a break right here? I'm like, let's just keep feeding the ball. Let him score. And that's one of the best things about the backfield right now. All three of those guys are competing. When one scores, the other two are sitting there, foaming at the mouth, wanting their opportunity to score. So, that friendly competition has made all three of them better.
Well, speaking of your running backs, the next touchdown we have increase the Dragon lead to 35-0. It's Jerry Brown from 32 yards out to cap an 11-play, 86-yard drive. 10 at the 32-yard line. Dragons hand off. Jerry Brown bounces to the left to the 30, 25, 20. Jerry Brown to the 10-5 end zone, 32 yards out. Key block there on the outside by your wide receiver to spring Jerry, and once that block was made, Coach, nobody was going to catch Jerry once he got to the outside.
Right, Davon had cut the corner right there, which fell into the safety that was trying to fill the alley, so he ended up getting 2 right there. And we've been hard on the receivers last several weeks about picking up their energy as far as when a run play is called. They need to block downfield for those backs, and Coach Horns had those guys working pretty hard, and it paid off right there.
One more score to talk about.
I'd like to see Pipkin get a touchdown. 4 rushing touchdowns.
Pipkin wants to throw. No, he's going to draw to the 5 into the end zone. Antonio Pipkin,
there it is.
4 yards out. That is our 4th rushing touchdown of the game, as you said?
4 different backs, 4 rushing touchdowns.
Fantastic. That makes 41 on the board for the Dragons with the extra point coming. 41-7. And the Dragons cap off the scoring there with the 42 points in the game. And, you heard Mr. Kibler predict that there at the start of the call. He goes, I see Antonio get one. I guess he thinks he knows what he's doing out there, Coach. But, yeah, great play by Antonio and the Dragons. A huge, huge victory up at Northwood.
Absolutely. Again, very, very proud of the young man. They finished the game. It's not easy to travel and come home with wins in this conference. Right. And, it kind of shows you the maturity of our team and the change of the culture. And they went up there and handled themselves very professionally, businesslike. We had one thing in mind, and that was completing the mission and being 1-0 that week. So, we said this before, the recipe to wins doesn't change. We got to get up and do the same exact thing this week for another, tough road win. Yeah,
but another one for the Dragons coming up this weekend on the road. But first, let's invite Mr. Jacob Murtis to come up here and join us on the program. We'll introduce ourselves to this red shirt freshman. Yeah, give him a big round of applause. Don't forget, everybody, all the Tiffany University Dragon football games can be found at our website, tudragonradio.com. You can also tune in via your cell phone by getting the TU mobile app. And on radio, you can catch us at Coast Country 100.9 on your FM dial. That's WMJK. Jacob, how are you doing, sir? Thanks for joining us.
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent. Well, welcome to the program, here to the Coach Gary Goff Show. And we're going to learn a little bit about this young man. Coach, tell us a little bit of something about Jacob before we dig into him.
Well, he is a very hard worker. Last year he redshirted for us, and almost every practice we're sitting there going, hey, that guy's going to be a really good football player. And then this past spring, he stepped in right there and really took a position, after probably about the 3rd or 4th practice, and has never looked back. And, he's a hard worker. He is a kind of a no-nonsense young man that's yes, sir, no, sir, and can I please lift some more, and can I get in again right now, and was that right, we're always trying to joke with him and loosen him up a little bit, but, his personality is he's in attack mode all the time, and that's what we really like about him. That's how your linebacker should play.
Well, Jacob, welcome to the program. Where are you from?
Talmadge, Ohio.
You're from Talmadge, Ohio? Yes, northeast part of Ohio, right?
Yes, a little bit outside of Akron.
Okay, and let's talk about your trip to Tiffany University, your path that brought you here. Let's start off with the first time that you became aware that Tiffany University was on your radar.
Junior year, I think, high school, after my season. Spring semester rolled around, Coach Bucar came to talk to me. He's not here anymore, but he recruited me. I had no idea Tiffany even existed, but he told me he liked what he saw on tape and tried to get me up for a visit, and I came up and I liked the coaches and I liked what I saw, and sparked some interest for me.
How about your first conversation with Coach Gary Goff here, and talk a little bit about the first time you guys got together and what how that helped lead you to becoming a Dragon?
I actually do remember my first talk with Coach Goff. It was in his office, my first visit here on campus, and I thought he was a real stern guy, real intimidating, but I liked him. Good smile.
I'm not paying you to say that. You don't have that.
Intimidating. So your first one is Coach. I think it's the first one we've had Coach Goff intimidating. But so you came up, you met the coaches, you had a great conversations, you liked the facilities and everything, and then what was it that made you decide, yep, that's where I'm going to go play my football?
Really, just the coaches and criminal justice program, and an opportunity to bring a program to where it's never been. I like that. I really like that.
You mentioned criminal justice. Is that your major, CJ?
Yes, criminalistics.
Okay, and what would you do with a major like that after you were done with your football career and your scholastic career or over? What would that?
I'm looking to get a job in the FBI eventually, hopefully. Out of my undergrad, I'm looking to go into the military, get some experience.
Yeah, I have a friend that did that, a former Dragon football player, did his grad work in the U.S. Army, as a matter of fact. So, all right, now you're at Tiffin University. You're here, redshirt freshman. Let's talk about the football field now. Let's talk about your teammates. And first, let's begin with your linebacking core and your defense. Talk about some of the guys on that team and how great it is to work with some of these young men.
Coming in, I didn't really know what I was working with, but some of the older guys, Morgan Lloyd and Terry Harper, really took me under their wing and taught me how to be a linebacker. And
that's Coach Goff. You can right there, those two names that you just said. You probably couldn't have handpicked two other guys to be mentors for this young man.
Oh, no doubt. And again, I think that's one reason why we've had some success this season is we've had some upperclassmen really take these young guys under their wing and show them the ropes. Here's how we do things here. We don't do things that way. And I'll say one thing about Jacob though. He's a natural football player. He's got a knack for the football and reading things pretty quick. And if he makes a mistake and you talk to him and show it, very seldom does he make that same mistake again. Okay. And I know Coach Ice has come off a million times talking about it. He goes, Coach, he's a phenomenal football player. He just naturally picks things up. Same thing, Coach Edwards coming out going, I can't imagine how good this young man's going to be as a senior.
Right.
We found one right here in this young man, and he's strong, he's athletic, and I think he leads the team right now in tackles, and he's top in the conference. So again, down the road, I can't wait to watch this guy play a lot of football games for us.
Well, you mentioned Coach Tim leading the team in tackles as well as being in the top of the GLIAC leaderboards as far as tackles are concerned. And what do you attribute that to? You just haven't have that actual knack to go get the football? The defensive line has to be doing their job to free you up. It's a combination of all that, or just got that knack to go get that football and bring that ball carrier down?
Really, you said it yourself. I have to give it to my teammates. If they don't do their jobs and the schemes don't work out, I don't make a play. So
yeah, and being a linebacker, you're not only asked to be a run stopper, but you also asked to do some coverage, working with receivers out of the backfield as well. Is there one of those two things that you prefer over the other? I don't like chasing the wide receivers and tight ends around here.
I absolutely prefer playing in the box.
Yeah. Well, we talked about him, Coach.
Every linebacker does.
Well, was it the Ashland game that has the tight end that you had to chase around all day? That had to be quite an experience.
You remember what I told you after the game?
No. Oh, yeah.
You won't have to do that again.
Yeah, no.
I told him, I said, unbelievable game. You played amazing. I said, so that was great. I said, even better news, you'll never have to cover a tight end like that ever again.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that can't be no fun. A big guy like that is one of the fastest guys in the field. But, they got to look on the other side of the ball and see you and think that's not much fun either, to go up against you and to have you covering the tight ends, the backs out of the backfield. And we mentioned the defensive line. Talk a little bit about some of those guys and how much they mean to what you mentioned how they have to do their job, but you see the work that they put in every day in practice in the weight room. Talk about that group as a core.
Oh, absolutely. D-line, it starts up front, always. And, being undersized like myself, I don't want to tie up with those big guys up front. Right. So it's important that they take their gaps and keep them preoccupied so us linebackers come up and fill our gaps.
Is that the key to him being successful, Coach? Is those defensive linemen keeping the big paws off of him and let him run and get to the football?
Absolutely. The entire game starts up front on both sides of the football, so defense is no different. And we've got a very good defense line that's been very deep. So absolutely, free him up and let him fly around and make a lot of plays.
Well, you think how big you think you're going to get? You talk about your undersized self. What kind of size do you like to see yourself get to? I'm sure the coaches have in their mind a number, but I'd like to hear what yours is.
About 225 pounds.
And what are you playing at right now?
200 pounds.
All right, another 25 pounds.
Yeah.
That's amazing, Coach, at his size. We see the size of the linebackers around this conference. We see the size of the running backs, the linemen, the tight ends. That his size be making all these plays, especially as a redshirt freshman. It's just got, like you said, the sky's the limit for this young man.
Well, he's extremely athletic and he's very, very strong. So he'll continue to get the weight on him. That's just going to come with years of lifting in a college program. So, we're obviously we want to get bigger, faster, and stronger like everybody. But, that stuff will come. What we're excited about is how athletic he is and just what a natural football player he is. He just reads things very quick.
Take a look back at the Northwood game and talk about yourself, how you thought you played in that game, and as your defense as a whole.
I thought we played pretty well.
I think you did too.
14 points. Going into that game, we knew they were going to be tough, like triple option kind of team. We just had to be assignment sound. Individually, I thought I played all right, did my job. Listened to Coach Edwards, Coach Eisen, did what I was coached, and we came out of the game with a victory.
Talk about Coach Edwards a little bit, your relationship with him, or being with him for a couple years now.
Coach Edwards is a good guy. I like him a lot. He's stern, no nonsense. Don't want to make him mad, So, but if you just keep your head down and do what you're supposed to do, you got nothing to worry about. And real smart guy too.
Is this the same type of scheme you played in high school that you're playing in here now with the Dragons?
No, we played like a 4-4. Okay. And I played middle linebacker. Didn't ever come out of the box, so it's a little different for me.
A little bit different, but something you're getting used to, and you're making the proper adjustments and growing in that position every day. Okay, Lake Erie coming up this weekend. Only 2 games left. Talk a little bit about, I'm sure you've had a chance to watch them on film quite a bit. Talk a little bit about what you've seen, what they do on the offensive side.
What I do like about Lake Erie is they are similar to our offense. So going in, getting a comfortable look. We've seen it before. The one thing I am worried about is keeping our heads. They do seem a little dirty. And,
that's part of it. A team that struggles sometimes will try to bait a good team into doing some things that they wouldn't accustomally do.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Definitely. They got a lot of athletes too, so we can't sleep on them. I don't think their record reflects their level of talent.
So you've been watching the show a lot. You know how to do the coach speak, as Coach Goff gives me those type of answers all the time when I try to get anything out of him. Coach Goff, let's talk a little bit more here about Jacob. What was it when you first saw this young man and thought you wanted to bring him to Tiffin and be a football player for your Dragons?
Well, explosive. We saw in film, it jumped out to us that he can run. He was athletic, and we're always looking, to improve at every position, finding somebody that's very athletic and somebody that we can continue to put size on. And he might say he's undersized, but he plays like he's a giant. He really does. And you can't judge a book by its cover.
Right. That's not what the fight. It's not the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog. Right.
All you got to do is turn on the film and watch him, and he's all over the place. And we've had many coaches this year after the game tell us, y'all have got an unbelievable player in 15. Mm-hmm. So that's exciting and encouraging. And he's only going to get better.
Oh, we've been impressed with the young man since we saw him first come on the field for the Tiffin University Dragons. Who on the Dragons offense gives you fits in practice?
Sorry, what was the question?
Who on the Dragons offense gives you fits in practice?
Okay, Dragons offense. Mason Butler.
Mason Butler. He gives a lot of people fits.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's not just you.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm sure he's the type of guy, once he gets on you, it's about impossible to get away from him, isn't it?
Absolutely. I remember coming up against him on scout team last year. That was rough.
But it's probably a great learning experience, right? To be able to battle against a guy like that can only make you better when you're facing the other interior linemen on the other teams around the conference.
I feel like it made me a lot better. Shedding blocks, working with bigger guys.
Well, his name's Jacob Murtis. You're here as a Dragon football player on the Coach Gary Goff show, a redshirt freshman. You're in the top 10 of the conference in tackles. You're leading the team in tackles. As you said, the sky is the limit for you. And you're welcome to hang out here with us as we preview Lake Erie. But, Coach, like you said, you got yourself a quality football player and a quality young man right here.
Absolutely.
All right, let's talk about Lake Erie, Coach. We mentioned their offense with Jacob, and let's talk a little bit about their offense here against your defense. We're not lying to anybody by saying or hiding anything by saying they've been struggling this year, not getting a lot of points on the board. It seems like one of the things that's really been a hindrance for them is penalties and turnovers.
Sure, those two things that will just kill you, But again, they're very similar to us offensively. They're going to spread you out. They're going to try to run the ball between the tackles a little bit of play action, and they're going to take their shots downfield. And they got some playmakers. They really do. They lost an All-American tailback a year ago.
Yeah.
But outside of that, last year they had one of the best offenses in the country. Mm-hmm. They had one of the best players in the country. So, they still do the same thing. They got a talented young back there. They got a quarterback that can hurt you with his feet. He can run. He can make some throws.
He's second leading rusher on their team right now.
Yeah, and if you look at all their stats from all the games, they've put up a lot of yards offensively. Mm-hmm. They're moving the ball up and down the field, but you're right when you say penalties and turnovers, they kill drives.
Yeah, and they also have a very talented tight end, a young man who is on a lot of draft watch lists at the start of the season as well. His numbers aren't where they probably expect him to be, only with a couple touchdowns, but another guy who's going to pose some matchup situations for your kids. But how about them on defense? Let's talk about Lake Erie on defense, giving up quite a few points.
Yeah, defense, I think they like to throw the book at you, really. I mean, they'll change their fronts up, they change their coverages. They're going to blitz quite a bit on any given down. So, they're trying to keep you on your toes and throw some stuff at you that you're not prepared for. So, offensively, we got to do a great job of, number one, protecting the football, which we did a week ago. If you protect the football, you got a chance to win the game. If you turn the ball over, then there's a good chance you're going to lose that game. So, we got to continue down that same path, protecting the ball. But, we're going to have to, keep them off balance a little bit. We're going to have to mix in the run with some of the pass, and we've done a good job with that most of the year. And as long as our backfield stays hot with the quarterback and Pipkin and the 3 running backs, that should open up some things for our receivers downfield.
It is awesome to hear you talk about the running game staying hot, because I know that's so far out of your norm when you're talking about football. I remember the line you said. We tell the new recruits we have 2 running plays. We run on the field, we run off the field. So it's great to hear you say that, because
the coaches are laughing at me during the week now. They're saying, you lost your air raid card. I'm like, I don't care. I just want to win games. I don't care.
Hey, you got athletes back there that can do the thing. The running tech has been dynamite, as you said. It's basically 4-headed monster when you count your quarterback, Antonio Pipkin. But there's not out of those 4 guys, there's not one who when they get the football, do you question it a little bit. You're comfortable with every one of those young men touting the football for you. And as we talked about Mr. Hardy's block in the opening drive of the game last week, physicality, speed, elusiveness, all those guys, they got it all.
Well, like I said earlier, those 3 guys are making each other better. I mean, you saw, we didn't have the highlight, but you saw Jerry Brown hurdle somebody and continue to run.
Right.
Jerry's never done that. Jerry's here somewhere tonight, I think. But, they've made each other better, and that's what it's all about right there. And then couldn't be more proud of that offensive line. That's a very young offensive line right now due to the injuries. And, it's just been a next man up attitude, and they've accepted the challenge, and they've battled every Saturday. So, right now the future's bright for everybody, because we got a really good football team. We got a lot of games left to play.
You mentioned the offensive line again there, Coach, and you're absolutely right. Talk about a group who's faced a lot of adversity this year with the injuries, and some people may be moving some spots on the offensive line, getting out of their comfort zone a little bit. But yeah, you're right. As a collective unit, it seems like they are incredibly cohesive, and it's like a one for all for one attitude from that group, and that's what you need out of those guys up front if you want to continue to handle the line of scrimmage like we did up at Northwood last week, and as we hope to do up at Lake Erie this week, Coach, because some things can still fall in place where we could still be at the top of that GLIAC South leaderboard at the end of the season. We need a little help, but as long as we take care of our own, sometimes that help will take care of you if you take care of yours first.
Yeah, there's some big games in the next 2 weeks.
Right.
You got Wayne State and Ohio Dominican, and you got Ashland and Ohio Dominican, and ODU is a very good football team. So I think there you got both those opponents at home, Wayne State at home and Ashland at home. So you never know, but we can't worry about any of that stuff. Right. We just got to focus on the now and focus on our mission this weekend, and try to be 1-0 come Saturday night.
And then only 2 of them left.
Unreal.
Only 2 of them left. That means.
Didn't we just report a camp like last week?
It seems like it. I know it's the same for you. Every year it gets a little bit faster. The older you get, the faster it goes by. But yeah, Dragons, 1 more road game, 1 more home game. Dragons up in Paynesville, Ohio, to take on Lake Erie College. A 1:00 start this Saturday. You can catch our pregame with a replay of the Gary Goff Show at 12 noon. And we join Coast Country 100.9 WMJK for our live pregame show at 12:30 as well. And then the following week, the Senior Day final home game against Northern Michigan back down at Frost Cownell Stadium. And yeah, Coach, it's been flying by, and with the weather, it feels like the last few days almost feels like it's back in the summertime as well. But the kids have been loving this, practicing outside and this stuff instead of what they normally are practicing at this time of year.
It's crazy. I think the coldest game of the year was Hillsdale, and that was week 3.
Wow. That is amazing.
Yeah, we were very lucky.
Well, it's knock on wood, that may change over here the next couple weeks.
Could change Saturday, huh?
Could change Saturday. As the Dragons, as we said, will be up in Paynesville to take on Lake Erie College. Big thanks to Jacob Murtis for joining us on the program. Coach, we said he's a redshirt freshman, and racking up the tackles, and as long as he keeps improving, the sky's the limit. And every coach in the conference on the offensive side of the football is going to be circling him when they watch the film for the next 4 or 3+ years. But this has been the Gary Goff Show out here at Buffalo Wild Wings. Make sure you join us at Buffalo Wild Wings every Thursday night, 6:30 p.m. and come on out every other night of the week and have yourself some dinner out here. Take care of the staff as they take care of you. Coach, go get them this Saturday. We'll meet you up there, and let's go get ourselves a winner. Bring them back here to Tiffin.
You bet. Thanks.
All right. He's Gary Goff. I'm Russell Snyder, and this has been the Gary Goff Show live from Buffalo Wild Wings right here on WTUD.